He is also, Mr. Ayokunle has expertise in legal advisory, corporate governance, strategy, and HR management. Mr. Ayo has moderated local and international events within the professional and entertainment industry. He is also a certified management consultant and a certified independent director who holds fellowships of the Nigerian Institute of Management Consultants and the Global Academy of Finance and Management, USA. He also holds a professional certificate in global governance and diplomacy from the European School of Leadership Development. He is a winner of the 2019 40 Under 40 Nigerian Legal Award, ESQ Magazine, Lagos, the 2020 and 2022 Modern Governance 100 Global Awards for Governance, Compliance, and Ethics, Diligent Corporation, New York, and the 2022 Law category of the 40 Under 40 Africa Awards, Exodus Communications Limited, Ministry of Arts and Culture, Ghana. He also sits on the board of Kaizen Academy Nigeria Limited and Fiduciary Services Limited. He is a council member of the Justin Lanham Group, New York, a member of the Nigerian Bar Association, International Bar Association, the Society of Corporate Governance Nigeria, and the Institute of Directors Nigeria. Mr. Ayokunle, are you here? Good afternoon. Mr. Ayokunle.
Good afternoon, Lillian. It's nice to be here. And it's nice to be
very much for
part of
honoring
this.
our invitation to moderate this event. If you are ready to go, kindly help us to introduce the panelists, and then the floor is yours. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Lillian. Thank you so much for the introduction, and we'll go right into it because I know we have we've spent some time trying to get one or two things together. Thank you for the introduction again. I'll just go right into it. Lillian has spoken a lot about the criticality of branding and what it does for us as professionals. So, I think, she has set the tone, and I think we are all going to be having this discourse to think about the impact personal branding and what branding does for us as professionals. So I have a very rich panel to discuss this, and I'll be introducing them just in shortly. On the panel to discuss it, I'm going to just share my screen now, and just a minute, and just a minute. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. First, to discuss this interesting topic with us today, we'll be having Kemi Martins. Kemi is a seasoned brand strategist and a leather goods designer with over 8 years of experience in management, design, brand development, and communications across multiple industries. Kemi holds an MBA in global business from the University of South Wales and a BSc Marine Science from the University of Lagos. Kemi's passion for making a difference in the leather goods industry led her to establish K Aspen, an award-winning Nigerian leather goods brand recognized for its excellence. In addition to her entrepreneurial ventures, Kemi also holds a chief brand officer role at Craftlink, a leather goods manufacturing company. This position allows her to work towards her innate mission of developing the leather goods industry in Nigeria. Kemi's outstanding achievements and contributions to the fashion industry have earned her numerous interviews and recognitions by various prominent organizations and individuals, such as Forbes Africa, Digital Media, Peace Eyes Nonprofit Foundation, Aim Higher Africa, NEPC, and former diplomats such as the United States Ambassador to Nigeria, Stuart Simonson, and the former Deputy British High Commission to Nigeria, Lauren Beautyfields. Additionally, our work has been recognized by Meta, MTV Base, Trace TV, BBC Africa, among others. Kemi, it's nice to have you here.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you so much for having me here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Great to have you here as well. The next person to discuss this will be Esther Muyaki. Esther is the founder and CEO of ARC Africa Consulting Kenya. Esther is a seasoned business leader with several years of experience in managing business across Africa, many of which have been in senior management positions in multinational companies and other great companies. Esther is currently heads a business management consulting firm named ARC Africa Consulting. Esther is also a certified professional coach and a member of the International Coaching Federation. She runs a personal branding program called Success by Design, through which she has helped several leaders and high-achieving individuals accelerate their careers and transform their lives. Esther was formerly a partner, Fantasy Capital Limited, a $50 million venture capital and private equity fund investing in East Africa. Before Fantasy, Esther was MD of Scanad Advertising Uganda. This is part of Scan Group, the only marketing agency listed in the Nairobi Stock Exchange. As prior to this position, Esther held various strategic and leadership positions within the Coca-Cola Company in Africa, including country manager Uganda, strategic innovations manager South Africa, and regional new brands manager East Africa and Islands. Esther has worked as marketing and export manager for Ever-Ready Batteries in East Africa Limited. She also has worked as product manager Nestle Foods Limited and Farmers Choice Limited. She has served on various boards, including those of Fantasy Capital investing companies, Fairtrade East Africa, Midlands Limited, Eldorville Dairy, and the Reverend Muhoro School for the Deaf. Esther holds a diploma in food processing from Jomo Kenyatta University, Kenya, a diploma in marketing from Nestle Training in Rashleigh, UK, and has attended several trainings, including Coca-Cola's Leadership Development Program, Executive Development Program, GIBS, Johannesburg, among others. Esther, it's nice to have you here. Hello, Esther, are you there?
Yes, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, great, excellent to have you here as well. Next on the, we have Eze Emmanuel Chukwudi, who prefers to keep it very short. And Eze is a brand communications and marketing expert with 7+ years of industry experience. He's a personal and corporate branding strategist and an expert with industry experience that cuts across e-commerce management, consulting, engineering, and financial technology. Eze is currently the brand communications and marketing lead at Advancio, one of Nigeria's leading fintech companies. Eze, welcome on board.
Good to be here, guys. Good to be here.
All right, great to have you. Excellent. We also will be having on the call Theodora, but Theodora is having a little challenge joining us now, but in the course of the program, I'm sure she's going to join us. Theodora Kiolowson is a trained lawyer and legal publicist. Ms. Kiolowson has served in various capacities, both in legal and media industries, including as head legal business and law editor of Business Day newspapers, Nigeria's foremost financial daily, for over 10 years. A private consultancy, the Law Brand Box and Consult, which offers customized brand solutions to the legal industry, has provided communication direction for several legal businesses for the last 7 years. With the portfolio, there includes over 20 legal brand activations and 200+ publicity campaigns. Ms. Lawson is an alumnus of the London School of Public Relations, the Pan-African University School of Media and Communication, the London School of Public Relations UK, the Chartered Institute of Public Relations UK, and the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators UK Nigeria branch. As part of her service to the bar, she has served as publicity chair for the MBA section on business law, chair media and publicity for the MBA Women Forum, and chair of the Lawyers in the Media Forum, while acting as media consultant for the immediate past president of the Nigerian Bar Association. Theo will be joining us in the course of this, and we expect she will join us very shortly. Next, we have Efe Ife Doguje, who have worked with in the past as well. Ife is a passionate and resourceful communication strategist driven by insight and data that will help position and build brands to accelerate their business growth, create stakeholder value, and deliver returns. She ensures the development and implementation of the business within the ecosystem to achieve the overall organization's objectives. She's highly skilled in developing impactful marketing and communications campaigns for B2B and B2C across a wide variety of channels and platforms. Building teams challenges her, and she believes that together they can drive top-line growth and deliver breakthrough brand performance. If it was head stakeholder management and communication at the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, head marketing and corporate communications at both United Capital PLC and VFD Group PLC. She was also managing director of Loose Media before her current role as business development manager at TGC Limited. She also doubles as the brand strategist for TGC Limited. Ife, it's nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Ayokunle.
Great, excellent. So I think we'll just dive right into this. Since Lillian has spoken extensively about branding, so I'll just go right straight into asking a few of the questions which I believe the panelists would do justice into. I'm actually glad to be in the midst of brand strategists and excellent brand experts. So I'm going to start with Kemi. Kemi, talk to me. How important is developing a brand for a corporate organization?
Hi, Ayokunle. Thank you again. Okay. How important is developing a strong brand for a corporation? Okay, I'm sure, first of all, I'm sure everyone is familiar with the definition of a brand, so I'm not gonna, touch that. But in the world we live in now, it is very easy to start a business or a company in the space of 12 hours, and having a business every day when you encounter clients or consumers, you leave a footprint. What do I mean by footprint? You leave an impression. So the question is, what impression are you leaving? What perception are you leaving? What do people think of you? What do people feel when they interact with companies? What do people take home? Are they excited? Are they happy? Are they grateful? So what exactly is going on? And plus, remember, as a corporation, you're not just the only one in that industry. You have hundreds of other companies doing practically or similarly the same thing. So it is very important for a strong brand to be developed in corporation because, number one, it aids with differentiation, from your competitors. Even if you're selling the same product, how are you well positioned in your market? How are you different from what company B, which sells similar product as you? How are you different from them? Even if your products are basically the same, what other ways are you different? So building a strong brand helps in differentiation. It helps with relatability in the sense that how do you engage with your consumers? Can they relate with the services you're providing, with the solutions? Are you solving a pain point? So it helps you become relatable. It helps you become human, compared to the corporate structure or the formal nature of the corporate structure in the first place. It makes you become, me and you, like I'm talking to a human being. It personifies the company. That's number two. Number three, it builds trust and credibility. It's not, if a person is using a company or a brand for a particular service, why should they switch to use your company? What is the reason? Are you selling ice to an Eskimo, or what do you have to offer? So building a brand with a clear-cut messaging helps build trust and credibility. It aids with, it helps with consistency, and most importantly, which I feel a lot of people ignore, employee morale. You know, are people just coming to work every day and just leaving just for the sake of earning a living and living the basic life that they want? Or are people excited to come to work, even with the workload, with the level of work and dedication they have to put? Are they excited? Are they looking forward to tomorrow? Are they looking forward to Fridays? You know, what is the employee morale like? Because what happens inside would always transfer to the outside. It trickles down, you know, so inside is very important. And that's why a strong brand is also important for employee morale. I've already mentioned positioning before. And another very important point is value and equity. If you want to sell your company today or tomorrow, apart from the revenue, the normal business revenues or profit or turnovers you make, building a brand around your business can actually times 2, what am I saying, 10x the value of your company, because people know you, people know what you do, people know your company, people are affiliated with your company. So building a brand around your company, you know, increases the brand value and equity of the company. And let me end by saying, at first, you know, I don't want to define a brand, but let me just define. A brand isn't just what you say a company is. A brand is what people feel a company is, what your consumers, your stakeholders feel. That's your employees, your the people, your vendors, everybody associated with your brand. It's what they feel. What they feel when they come in contact with your brand across multiple touch points. So it's not what you define your brand, it's both sinking the inwards and the outwards. And that is what a brand is. And that is how you can develop a strong brand, basically. Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, wow. Kemi, you've done great. One of the things I know there is branding is something that differentiates you from the next person. Even if you are offering the same services as that person, you are basically saying that, okay, this is what makes me stand out. So it's quite interesting, and I find that very informative. So Ife, I'm going to ask you the same question. So is there something different to more, or any addition to what Kemi has said in terms of what is corporate brand, and just let's take it from there.
So I don't think I have anything different to add. I think Kemi basically hit the nail on the head in terms of positioning, in terms of differentiation, and then those things, that the elements that actually help with differentiation. So I wouldn't be adding anything so that everybody is not confused. Let them soak in what she had said.
Okay.
Based on her response, yeah.
Excellent. So Esther, anything you want to, any opening words in terms of what corporate branding is?
No, I think I'm not going to add on the corporate branding.
Okay.
I think she's covered it quite well.
Oh, beautiful. So while you're still, I'll still just do a follow-up to that, to say that when we talk about successful brand building for corporates, what would you consider are some of the key elements that should be involved in this? Some of the key elements in a successful brand building for corporates.
Okay, I think it's an interesting thing because Kemi has like defined the brand, but it's it's really, what are you promising? Because a brand is really a promise. So I would say that some of the elements, and there are many, but I in my mind the key ones would be clarity of what you are about. Who is your target audience? Who are you serving? And what can that target audience expect from you? So it's very important that a brand is very clear about what are they serving. And you could say that goes into positioning. Whom are you positioning yourself for, and what are you offering them? The other element is consistency. Consistency builds trust. And how does consistency come about? Sometimes you find that there's some brands that are all over the place. and you're not sure what tomorrow this brand is actually going to stand for. So a brand needs to be consistent in every touch point, consistent in the way you message. Your messaging needs to be consistent. You've seen some brands, for example, you have on a billboard, and there's so many messages of what this brand does that actually the consumer or the customer comes out with nothing. Because when you have so many different opposing messages, then that is not consistency and people just get confused. So I think consistency in messaging, in the way you show up, in what you stand for, those things are very important. I would say that the other one is authenticity. Being authentic means that you are actually genuine. You say what you are and you are what you say, because this helps connect with your target audience in an emotional way. And successful brands have an emotional connection with their target audience. And you can't have an emotional connection unless there is a degree of authenticity. And people like dealing with authentic things, the real thing, and not pretentious. And the other thing that makes for successful brand building, the other element I would say is communication. I think communication is so key because there is no connection without communication. And communication means that you're actually speaking the language of your target audience. There is no point of saying things that people don't understand. So you're speaking their language, you're aware of the nuances that make up their culture so that you're communicating effectively. I guess those four, for me, are the key elements that have to be there if you're going to make a successful brand building effort. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Quite interesting. You've spoken about clarity, consistency, authenticity, communication, but more important for me is the emotional element to it. In recent times, I've been learning about it, about how consumers want to have that emotional connection to brands to which they interact with, and brands where they want to gain trust. So that quite resonates with me very well. So thank you so much for the highlight. So my next question is going to go to Eze. Eze, I know we've spoken and we've talked a bit about that, about what companies can do as per their branding. But before I even move on, I'd like to just quickly mention what Mrs. Laide Adeyemo has spoken about in the comments, which is that your brand is basically your value proposition. It communicates. So build a great brand, which is basically what Esther has also spoken about. So please keep dropping your comments and questions, and at the right time, we'll take some of your questions. So Eze, talk to me. In terms of a company defining its brand and creating that clear brand message, which is one of the things Esther has suggested that companies must ensure that they are doing, that they must be clear and not sending all sorts of messages to the market and to potential customers. Now, what can companies do to ensure that they have a defined brand identity and they create a clear brand message to their consumers? Easy, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much again. I would like to even say a very big thank you to everyone who has spoken. They've spoken, as experts. So just to add to what she has mentioned, I think the first speaker also talked something about, also, I think successful brands, right? It goes beyond the elements that we've also mentioned. The people who also drive these brands are key. The success of these brands, you can tie the success of different companies to different individuals who have, at one point in time, held certain positions that have driven the brand to where they are. So before I delve into that properly, I'd just like to also speak about the importance of having, some people call it the brand Bible, or most popularly known as the brand guide, right? So the brand guide is something that guides every brand, every organization because it has the logo, it has the vision, the mission, the typography, the brand tone, the brand voice, and then the type of imagery that should be used across board, either when we're using billboards, social media. So it's important that there is a brand guide to guide the brand in terms of all its communication efforts, either internally or externally. The brand guide also has, typography templates for your emails. What should be the font? How should we communicate internally? Do we at every point in time, is our tone friendly internally? Or are we jovial? Do we go by first names? And then how should the tone be when you're speaking to your spirit within the office? So these are some of the elements that a brand guide has. So it's important that if you want to build a successful brand, so it's like it's a strategy document that you fall back to at every point in time. Oh, so if a brand manager, if you employ a new brand manager, maybe you fire the old brand manager because he's probably not delivering. The next one does not come, and when you want to audit the brand, you need to look at what is existing. So the brand guide would give you an insight to what the direction of the company currently, and then how every form of communication that has gone out of the company has taken place. What's the basis for our communication within the organization? So it's important that brands, if you're looking to build, so I would say it's like a commandment for you to have, because it gives you clarity, like she has mentioned. It gives you clarity on everybody within the organization, and it's important. So the same way we speak about customer service not just being a unit or a department, but it's a general thing. So I think branding also, a lot of people should understand. I always tell everywhere that I've worked that branding is also not just the efforts of the brand manager or the brand department. Every unit contributes, and every individual within the organization contributes to the brand and then how we are perceived outside. So if you're an engineer who represents my company, if you underperform outside, it affects the brand, whether you're not the brand manager or whatever it is. So for everybody contributes. So that is why it is important that everybody knows that they play a different role within the organization. It is not just the brand manager or what they do online or what they do in social media or the adverts that we do. Every interaction that a staff has with another company, either as long as you're representing the company, whatever action and inaction you take forms the opinion of your brand in the minds of either your customers or your potential clients. So it's important that if you're building a brand, either a personal or corporate brand, it's important that you have your brand guide or your brand Bible, where you look through for guidelines, because it has your logo, your mission. It gives you an understanding without anyone speaking to you. Merely you come into the organization and they give you the brand Bible, you understand what this company is about, where they are and where they hope to be. So that is a key element. Another key one again is it's important that, we can have a great brand, you can have a great idea of what you want to build. Most of the successful companies that we see in the world today, yes, they had a direction, but some of them, I'm sure that some companies have gone down the line already, they are drowned already, they failed because they brought in the wrong team members. Great brands, great brands are built by, great brands are not just built by, it's built by individuals, right? So it's important also that if you have a brand that you believe in as the founder, because I also believe that, it takes more than one tree to make a forest. So if you want to build a successful brand, it's also important that you have like the right team, and then have people who also, I believe in ownership, people who do not just want to work for you because a lot of brands have failed because of who they hired. Either they hire people who are not passionate about the brand, who are just hungry people, who just want to get something to eat, and then they join your company, and then you see that they're not delivering results. So great brands, you can have the best idea, but if you have a poor team to execute, clarity, we can have clarity, but how is our clarity as a brand executed? So this, so that I don't delve so much, and then maybe if there are other people who want to add to this, but it's important that if you want to build a successful brand, you need to clearly define your brand guide, have a brand guide that guides the brand, or the brand Bible, as you like to call that. And then it's important to have individuals who are passionate about building the same idea, building the same great brand that you have. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Wow, that's quite interesting. I mean, I'm learning so much. You've spoken about the brand guideline, and we've also spoken about that literally the responsibility for defining an organization's brand is not just with the brand or marketing guys, but it's with everybody. And so but there's something quick. There is a quick question I'm going to ask closely related to what you have spoken about, and that's to say that if, for instance, I get into an organization and we want to create a customer-friendly organization, and part of what we want to create as our brand is a convivial atmosphere towards customers and all of that. Would you consider that as branding or culture? What is the line that separates culture and branding, such that it could be argued that some people will say that this is their style, this is their way, this is their attitude, and so one could say it's culture. What's that thin line between culture and branding?
Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that question. Right. So what I would say there is it's important to have if you want to experience, so it's important. That's one of the reasons why it's important to have a cultural, an internal the first step to building anything successful, because it starts from the inside, right? So if there's an internal cultural difference between the people who work there, and people cannot give what they don't have, right? So it's important that if you want to see a brand change externally within your consumers or your customers, you also need to have that. You also need to have that internally. You need to build that internally. You need to build a culture where people within the organization, what you expect them to give, do not just tell them to, because what I've realized now is it's similar to how when we tell kids, if you're raising a child, you tell them do this. It's easier for them to do that when you actually show them and not just tell them, right? So I've realized something that I remember similar to what you were saying, right? So we wanted to build, we just launched we just got a license for agency banking. The bankers are dealing with a lot. It's not easy being at the back end, receiving complaints every day. So, for example, we also wanted to make sure that at every point in time, the customer service unit, even when they are angered, will still respond with a smile. We had people one issue we had again was, so we knew people who, it's important that you also pick people whose personality trait actually match the job. Sometimes when you pick it wrong, you would always have issues. So I remember that somebody in the customer care unit does not enjoy speaking to people for so long, speaking to so many people. So it was a problem. Even though we had gone through we've gone through trainings within the organization to say, oh, we want our customers to always say that I do not like situation escalating to me, but a lot of times when I was the head of operation, customers always wanted me to resolve their problem. Why? Not because it's not like my tolerance level for complaints is high, but I've just realized that if you want to build, you can say so much about your company, about, oh, how great you are, how much of a customer-friendly organization that you are. But if your customers, it is the experience that counts. And your experience, if the experience is negative, I have somebody a popular speaker in Nigeria, who did not manage something properly. And then these guys will just go online on your page and there was one client that was continuously saying negative things about us. So it's important that you see, for there to be an external change, for there to be a change outward, an outward change, there needs to be an inward change within the organization. Let people know what your company is about. Build that culture internally so that it is not difficult for somebody who, your environment is a toxic brand environment, working environment, and you're expecting them to be excited speaking to your customer. There's always going to be a problem. There's always going to be a mismatch. So if there's a cultural issue within the organization, you would always have issues in achieving your brand goals. So if you do not rectify organizational problems, cultural change issues, temperamental issues, that is why it is important. When I was in management consulting, we always made sure that your temperament, your personality trait fits the job that we give you, because it is important. So many people have, it would be, if Elon Musk was not doing what he is doing, I don't think there's any other person who can enjoy what he does the way he does. So it's important that people are placed correctly, because you would enjoy. I have had this said about so many of my managers. I'm outgoing. My personality trait works for what I do. So I've never had, a mismatch of who I am and what I'm currently doing. This is not who I am. No, it has never really happened, because I already know what I'm drawn to. So if there's a cultural issue within the organization, you would always have problem in terms of getting the staff to deliver on your brand message and clarity.
Excellent.
So I hope that I've been able to touch on
excellent.
that.
You did very well. I think you did very good justice to that, especially the handshake between culture and branding. Yes, excellent. I see that my next question is going to be to Ife, but before I go to Ife, I see Kemi wanted to chip in a thought on what Izzy has just spoken about.
Yeah, yes, I just wanted to, like, you literally hit the nail on the head. I just wanted to maybe simplify it a bit more. The question about branding and culture is actually brilliant, because a lot of people miss it. And okay, so you can see branding as the process of creating, and with the aid of marketing, obviously promoting maybe a company's unique identity, message, value proposition, and whatnot, basically the elements. But culture, on the other hand, refers to maybe the shared values, the shared beliefs and behaviors that shape the identity of the company, of the brand that needs to be promoted. So I'm going to give an example. For instance, let's say you have a company with a brand message of we love innovation, creativity, cutting edge technology. We use one of the best technologies to create our product. We thrive on creativity. Imagine your brand message around that, around that line or around that circle. Then when you look inward, you see that, or maybe when you visit the companies, or maybe if you know somebody that works in the company, you then notice that, employees are discouraged from taking risks or trying new things. Can you see that doesn't tally with the messaging of innovation, cutting edge technology and creativity? Exactly. So in the company, you notice that there's maybe a strict hierarchy of decision making by just maybe a small group of executives who are resistant to change, especially if you have maybe very, very much older folks in the company. Sorry? Okay, I thought someone was saying something. Yes, so if the brand culture, that's everything happening in the company, down from decision making to producing the products or producing the services, if they don't tally with the messaging you are trying to put out there, then there is obviously a conflict between branding and brand culture. So that's why, like Asa said, it has to be aligned. It has to go hand in hand. The culture has to promote the messaging and give a room to foster that message that you're trying to put out there, foster it inward. So that way it trickles down. So that's just what I wanted to add. But you already said that towards the end, I think.
Beautiful. Right. I like the simplicity with which we've explained it. There's virtually no way you are going to be talking about branding and talking about the values out there if you don't internalize that value. So it's excellent that you just hit it on the head to say to what you have just said. Beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Kemi. I'll just take one or two comments as well, because I see that if he has said something about this, and if he basically said that branding and culture are closely related, and a strong brand is often built on a strong culture and vice versa. So I think it's important that as brand strategies, it's important to also do an handshake with probably other stakeholders, including HR, towards building a brand, that actually speaks to the culture. So thank you so much for that. I also saw the comment from Mr. Ademo that one primary goal before putting your brand out to third parties is to secure and protect it legally, so that you can have exclusivity to the brand, and the brand and marketing department must work in alignment with the legal team, which I think is, with my legal experience, I'll say it's a very great point. Before the brand goes out there, it's very important to ensure that it's exclusively yours by ensuring that you've taken care of the legal rights to your brand. So thank you so much for that as well. If I'm going to come to you and I'm going to ask the question, in building brands, certain mistakes are going to be made, certain errors are going to be made, and I'm going to be asking you what are those mistakes that brands can actually avoid in building their brands and in their marketing in their marketing endeavors as well. I'm aware that, for instance, just about this time last year, one bank did an advert, and where you said that, and his reason, just like bread, is reason, and at a point, and at the point, I know that in the north, so a lot of people were, literally trying to burn some of the branches, and that shows the impact of poorly thought out brand initiative can be. So I'm going to ask, what other mistakes, what other errors should companies avoid when they are trying to build their brand?
Yeah, so thanks for that, Ayokunle. I think that one majors on just understanding the environment and the position you are in the environment. That was very, very key as at that time when that advert came. And then the season. So the season was really, again, when we look at it, you're comparing a certain doctrine to bread rising, and that was really, really a bummer for that brand. But other mistakes that big brands or companies make as it relates to branding, and I think Esther had mentioned some of them, inconsistency is a big, big deal. I like that the key brands, of course, if you identify them from international and local, there are some of those brands that when you see them, you can always automatically tell that they are the ones. But some upcoming brands just fail to realize that certain things mean things when it comes to branding. What's his name? Eze had spoken about having a brand guideline or a brand book. Now that helps with your consistency to say, okay, our logo will be here, our payoff will be here, messaging and imagery will look this way, so that every time you have a social media post, a billboard, a banner, an online advert, whatever it is consistent. But inconsistency is something that plagues branding, especially for upcoming industries or upcoming businesses. I think another one, and this is quite key, is a lack of focus. And I'm sure majority of the panelists here would have had some sort of experience, one or the other, about with businesses that say, okay, you know what, my target is 25 to 35, but I still want to talk to 50 to 60. And you now say, okay, so how am I going to have messaging that talks to 25 to 35, but also appeals to 50 to 60 when they're not within the same age range? And this is just a typical, so this one is just even target audience mapping and all that. But some brands cannot be, and I will say it beating my chest, you cannot be the same thing to everyone. That is a no-no. That's a mistake that some of the upcoming brands are making. You cannot be targeting everyone. What we have done as communication specialists is we have been able to break it to primary and secondary. And what that means is you can target your primary first
And then subsequently, you will touch base on the secondary bit. That way, your messaging, though the same, can be targeted to the same, as in it's targeted to different categories of your audience. And then finally, I will just close with neglecting online presence. A lot of businesses feel like, oh, you know what, online is not where I get paid. Money doesn't come from there. The people that are there have only 1,000, they have 3,000, they're the ones harassing me. But trust me, they're the ones that make the most noise. So online should be a given. If I say I want to start a business that wants to inevitably grow to the likes of Coca-Cola, Nike, Apple, then I should take online seriously. I should have a website, I should have a social media page, I should have Medium or a blog, whatever it is, take it seriously and populate it with the right content. Don't have it and say, okay, let me tick that box and then I'll leave the content for people to figure it out. So those are the three things that I feel like are common mistakes as it relates to building a brand.
Related to that, you know, you did touch on something that is quite interesting, which is that a lot of people consider online presence like, what's this? And it's quite surprising because, I mean, this is 2023, right? And if you are still ignoring the online marketing, then you are still in the Stone Age, right? Because, I mean, at times I see, and I now even see deliberate efforts by even people that, you know, you consider public figures, right? Because at some point when we get to, you know, when we start talking about personal branding, you see, people like Tony Elumelu, they literally have a team. You have Elon Musk, a lot of people, they literally have a team around them, just building personal branding. And you'll be surprised. And you know, the last time I saw his last post, I saw like about 13,000 comments. And I said, and this is just branding around him as a person, right? So basically what he has done is to create a massive platform for advertisements. And so which just goes to tell you how much you know, branding and all of that online presence is. And because, you know, the way it is global, right? It's borderless. And so it's borderless in thinking, and what it does, the online presence does, you know, open you up to the globe. So thank you so much for that, Ife. I'll still, while we are there, if you are there, if you are there.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
I'm
so
here.
just like, you know, what I've spoken about, I've just touched briefly on. Maybe we can just have your thoughts briefly before we go into delving into personal branding. How critical do you think personal branding is for professionals?
So personal branding is very, very important. You gave that example was a perfect example. Some of us are still studying what that brand, the enigma, because outside of a brand is a bit, he's right there when you talk about personal branding. And it's not an easy job. So for him, because he's a team, he has a team, he can build a team to be able to do X, Y, Z, and of course set KPIs as it relates to his own personal brand and how he wants to be reflected externally. However, and like I said, okay, not even however, building your personal brand is quite important. But if you don't have a team of experts, of a photographer, of someone that is constantly at your beck and call, then you need to put in the work to be able to get your personal brand to be recognized. And some of those things involve several things outside of just, so first and foremost, self-reflection. What exactly do you want to talk about? What exactly do you want to be known for? That also aligns to your goals, your aspirations, your vision, because in trying to create your own personal brand, some of these things will intertwine and they have to reflect when you're talking about your personal brand. A lot of us use strategy. I'm very, very wary when talking about strategy, but you need to also have a plan. I know we're all business owners. It's not as easy for us to say, okay, today I'm going to write about, or this day I can write every day. It might not be easy. So running a business and being able to build your personal brand, you need to have a plan so that you say, okay, a plan or a calendar. So you say, okay, 3 times a week, I can dedicate it to writing a post or 2 posts about me or about something I've seen in branding or something I've seen on holidaying, tourism. Again, pick the topic that you're conversant with so it helps you to grow. And then, of course, become consistent. I can't say it more than anything. Consistency is key. If you know 3 times a week, I can do it twice a week or once a week, I can post on LinkedIn, I can comment on other people's posts, I can also share opinion on other people's posts. Don't forget, those things are also important because LinkedIn will spool information about what you like and what your interests are. So you can find a way to put that into a plan so that you have some level of consistency when you are building your personal brand. But ensure that you're consistent, ensure you have a plan, and by all means, self-reflect on if this is what you want to do, I'm going to be on it, and this is what I'm going to talk about.
Excellent point. Excellent point. If you said a lot, you even, gotten into some parts which we will still speak extensively about. Well, my next question is going to be to Esther, and we're going to get back a little bit into corporate branding, and I'm going to ask about for companies that are looking to differentiate themselves in terms of corporate branding, what can companies actually do in a nutshell to differentiate themselves from competitors and build a unique brand identity?
Thank you for that question. It's interesting because that's what my colleagues have been talking about, differentiating and building brand guides that guides what you do out there. But I would say that some of the key things, again, that really helps companies and organizations differentiate themselves is having a very clear purpose. What is your purpose? What are you actually doing? What are you out there doing? And the other thing is being clear as to who are you serving. Just like she just said that some companies want to be everything to everybody. And I always say that positioning is sacrificial. Positioning is sacrificial. You cannot be everything to everybody because then you'll be nothing to nobody, basically. So you need to be very clear about who your target audience is. And because when you're clear about who your target audience is and you're clear about your purpose, it becomes much easier to then align how you deliver whatever it is that you're delivering, whatever service or products you're delivering to your target audience in a very easy and aligned way. The other thing is personality, the how that you deliver. Some things can be the same. Maybe you're all selling water, but how you actually deliver that water, how you show up with that water, how you communicate your offering actually makes all the difference. And to give you an example, there's a bank in Kenya, maybe you haven't heard of it, but it's called Equity Bank. It's the biggest bank in asset base, and also in terms of members. And it's interesting because I had the opportunity to speak with the group CEO of Equity Bank, and he said to me, I asked him, he was coming into a new market. Then I was handling their brand in Uganda, and I asked him, how are you going to differentiate yourself? There are all these other brands that are already here. And he's been very, very successful in every country he's gone into and in every region he's gone into. And he said something very simple. He said to me, my target audience is not even banked yet. So I'm not even competing with the other banks. I'm looking at this person who is putting their money under the mattress. So I am inviting them to become members in a safe way. They can bring the money to us, however little it is. So the model that they have adopted is so engaging to their customers. And so even the way they speak to them, they call them members. They don't even call them clients. So people feel they are members, and then they're very basic in the way that they speak to them, in the way they welcome them into the branches. It doesn't matter how you're dressed. It doesn't matter. They're very basic in the way they welcome their customers. So they have differentiated themselves completely. And as a result, because you can literally start, your account with as little money as you have, it's because of that, they have really differentiated themselves in terms of the way they communicate to them. They are very clear about who their target audience is. So I would say that their purpose, and he said to me that their purpose is to increase bankability and increase inclusivity, financial inclusivity to that person who the big banks, especially the corporate banks, the big banks like Barclays and those kind of banks, had completely shut out because they had a minimum amount of money that you had to have to open an account. And in fact, they closed a lot of accounts. And so they were very clear. This is who we want to take care of. This is our mission. And so I would say that those three things really drive differentiation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you've spoken about differentiation. Okay. You've talked about differentiation, but quickly I'm going to just have Kemi also chip in because I have a hand up. Kemi, please.
Yes. And oh my God, those were such brilliant remarks. And I just wanted to add or chip in my own method of answering that question. So when it comes to differentiation in a competitive industry, I always use one word: data, because sometimes you might have in your mind, even when you have your purpose, everything, and you're convinced that, oh my God, you know what, this is our purpose, this is who we are, and this is how we're going to be different because of who we are. Then you enter the market and you see that, okay, we're not that different because there are also a lot of people like that. So I always say, do a thorough competitive analysis with your industry, in your industry. It should be more of a strategically data-driven decision mixed with a bit of emotions, as opposed to just emotions or feelings only. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So look at your industry. Okay, let's say still using the banking sector that Esther used. You can say, okay, these are all the banks currently, with this particular demographic, so what are they not doing and what are they doing? Peg it to maybe the other brands abroad. What are they doing abroad? What are they not doing? What can I bring home? What can I discard? Use different metrics. Like it can be from product. You look at products, you look at their brands, you look at their business, you look at their customer experiences. So there are so many ways you can differentiate your brand, even if you have maybe similar messaging in a sense, but it can be, let's focus on the product, let's focus on the business, let's focus on the business model, how it is delivered. Let's focus on the customer experience, the maybe the time it takes, to answer feedback. It can be so many things. And branding, yes, is one of those things you can use, but there's so many other ways to look at how to stand out from competition in a business entity as a whole. So that's what I always use. If I'm maybe taking on a project for a client and I say that, okay, in this year's space, they are quite innovative brand-wise. A lot of people are using beautiful personalities. The purpose are, oh my God, so enduring. Yes, we can be different, but you know what? Let's use this brand strategy, but let's still cushion it with another form of business experience or business experience or product experience, you get. So it's a cushion effect if you're already in a very or highly innovative industry. So I'll say it's always industry driven and data driven for that particular question. Just wanted to add that.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. I'm sure we are all the better for it because you've just explained a lot about the importance of differentiating what we bring to the table. So thank you so much for that, Kemi. I'll take one comment from the Michael Lumogun, mentioned that Every great brand should be focused on solution to routine and non-routine challenges that the users and stakeholders are confronted with their journey of life. Therefore, great brands must have the mentality of empathy and understanding for the stakeholders across board. The business of great branding is a continuous one with stakeholder satisfaction as the eventual destination. And serious brands must never downplay their marketing research, or they will be disconnected from the realities of their market. Excellent comments. I know a lot. We'll be moving towards personal branding in a bit, so we'll just take a final question on corporate branding, because I know a lot of people on the call today are concerned about personal branding as well. So my final question on corporate branding will go to Eze, and my question is going to be that how does social media play a role in brand building, and what strategies can businesses use to build their brand on social media? Just briefly give us one or two, your take on the impact of social media marketing, especially in branding for corporates. Eze, are you there, please?
Okay, yes, yes, I am, please. Thank you very much again for that question, Ayokunle. So I think that social media is a key in the world that we live in today. You have no excuse for not being online or digitally visible, right? So I think for brand building, even what you get more traction by being present on social media and showing up regularly than having a billboard somewhere, right? So give or take for LinkedIn, even with the number of people, once you have one or two people engage, it could either be staff, engage, the reach. You can get way more reach than maybe getting somebody to go and share flyer out there. You can connect to more than, if your content is well crafted on social media, or even if you promote it, you would reach more customers and potential clients on social media than having 10 or 20 agents roaming the streets. They might not get as much attention, or they might not even get maybe more than like 30 people's attention. And after submit, it's out of their mind, right? So I think social media is important for brand building. And I think no serious-minded brand should exist today without having a good social media presence.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Please take a pause on that, because I have a slightly close question to just add to that. At the time, I was in a corporate organization where at the time in the management meeting, we were faced with the issue of members of staff not interacting with the company's brand on social media. And at the point, consideration was had towards enforcing members of staff to interact. Even though it's the manner social media is, it should be a voluntary thing. So quick question I'm going to add to what you have said, because you've spoken about how companies should behave on social media. What roles do employees play in brand building, and how can companies get their employees to interact and embrace the company's brand online? You spoke about the fact that it's more useful for organizations to rather try to promote their presence on social media rather than send out flyers. Now, since we're talking about social media now, how can companies actually get the buy-in of employees for their brand and interact with their brand online? I think you are mute.
Oh, okay. Apologies. I thought I was. So when you asked that question, I was smiling, right? Because as brand manager across like 4 different companies in my career so far, we've had the same challenge. So, but what I've realized again is within the work environment, from my observation, the people who enjoy and love where they work find it easy to, speak about where they work. But I worked in a place that was a bit toxic, that was so toxic that, the MD was really rude. You know, he was so so much of a narcissist, rarely compliments staff. He sees himself as the alpha and the omega. Nobody in the company is better than him. Even if you have a first class, it's in your pocket. I'm better than you in this organization. I should always accept that my ideas, you know. So when I interacted with these people individually, I realized that they were not passionate about, they are just in the company to survive. So giving them that is, you are adding to their task. They don't even, and there was no way we could penalize. I could only encourage, but you cannot enforce them to. So one thing employers can do is, and I think fintechs actually revolutionized that space, right? In terms of employee welfare, and then making them, you know, helping them understand. So because we live in a space where managers always want, sometimes I can finish up I'm so much of a proactive person that I finish up my task maybe midday. But because I have a manager that, you know, they must always see you busy. I know many of my colleagues that do that. Immediately the manager is inside or the MD is around. We're just on our laptop and acting. And this is what many. So employees are scared. They are not well remunerated. You're not paying them well. The culture there is not supportive. They don't feel loved. They are literally just surviving to come to work. If they had another choice, they will not be at company. So it's a problem to get them to share anything about the company. Their own concern is, let me do my work, get paid and leave. So I've spoken about this several times. So it's important that managers, you know, supervisors or CEOs, make sure they put, you know, the work environment is, they're excited to be at work. They love what you do. So every time they want to speak about where they work. So that's something that they should, companies, organizations should make it a culture where, you know, if you're speaking about somebody also touched on that. If you want us to be speaking about love or people loving our product, loving our solution, you need to also, they say, Richard Branson said something, take care of your employees because they're the ones that will take care of your customers, right? I don't know if I'm quoting that correctly. Because somebody who is not happy, whatever they're just doing, they're not doing it with passion. So that's the challenge. And what I can also say, so employee branding is, imagine if Tony Elumelu, imagine Tony Elumelu, even outside UBA being what UBA is today. The fact that Tony Elumelu is socially visible has, I'm sure I can attest, I'm sure, even though I don't have that information, that him being visible and building, showing up, you know, he has defined the reputation of being an entrepreneur, being a family man, loves his kids, he's generous, he's stylish. There's so many companies who are able to, I don't use UBA before. I never liked UBA for whatever reason, but I've been more drawn to the brand UBA thanks to Tony Elumelu. I enjoy his content now. When UBA, I don't have, okay, well, I just actually created a UBA bank account, but in time past, I was never really a UBA, but he has been able to influence. So, and this is what I also tell my colleagues, right? Most of the companies that because I work in a fintech right now, so the banks that we currently work for, and the contracts that we've gotten, companies also like to go and verify the caliber of people working for that company before they even give contract or businesses to. You are able to, so how your so your presence online also rubs off on your brand. So it's important that, you know, employers encourage employee branding, not necessarily force them to. What I always tell my colleagues, anybody who joins the company, if I'm doing an induction talk with them, what I say is, you know what, I'm excited to have you here, and I believe that you love what you're doing. That's why you're taking this job, right? So I want you to enjoy what you're doing. And if you enjoy what you do here, you'll be able to speak about what you do. And I'm not saying speak about Advantio for me. Don't say you want to speak about Advantio for me. Speak about what you do at Advantio, and then how your job, how the way you're doing it, the way you love what you're doing is actually now affecting the company's bottom line. And then how what you love is changing things within the fintech space, or your solution is currently being used by banks and driving financial inclusion. So employee branding can also help companies grow bottom line. So I would give you a practical example. When I was working with a consumer lending firm, I was so vocal. A number of people did not know, probably a lot of people probably thought I owned that company because I was passionate about the space that I was playing in. It was from my page on LinkedIn that somebody from the Gender Innovation Lab, World Bank, reached out to me and said, "Hi, Mr. Eze, we see what you're doing. You speak about consumer lending. We would like to know if your company, what's the statistics of women taking loans within your organization?" So in that way, I built a reputation online, enjoying my role and speaking about what I do for my company. In that way, it brought us, I got friends and people off LinkedIn who took loans from our company. And then myself and my MD were at the World Bank office to discuss about how there can be gender balance in terms of access loans for women in business. So it's important that employers encourage employee branding. So thank you very much. So that I don't speak, so I don't take too much of our time again.
Interesting personal experience. I hope that led to a good appraisal and a raise.
Yeah. Well,
right?
yes, it did.
So just speak, so from what you have said, we now have an handshake between personal branding, corporate branding, because it's closely connected. So now we are going to be moving more towards personal branding and the importance of personal branding. So I'm going to ask Ma'am Esther that what do you think, how important is personal branding, and how can individuals start building a strong personal brand, and what are the elements of having a personal brand? What does it involve? We keep talking about personal branding. What's the importance? What are the elements? How can people build personal brands? Esther, please.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Again, it doesn't matter what you're talking about when it comes to branding. So, for example, like you've been talking about these wonderful people who have built wonderful companies, but the truth is that even today, if you're looking for investment from a company, it's about you. People will be investing, yes, in what you're doing, but even more importantly, in the person that is actually leading that company. If you're a startup, people will be looking at you. So it's so important that people start thinking about themselves as a brand, because I always say that whether you know it or not, whether you're intentional about it or not, you're always being positioned. So you might as well take the whole idea of your personal brand seriously and start being intentional about it, because positioning happens whether you call it or you don't. So to me, some of the personal branding elements are very similar to what you do when you're building even an organizational brand. The same elements that you use to think about what does a successful brand look like is the same. They're the same elements that you must look at yourself when you're thinking about personal branding. For me, personal branding is, again, inside out. You need to be authentic from the inside. You need to ask yourself, again, what am I really doing? What am I about? What is my purpose? What is my why? And I think one needs to be very clear about my why, so that today you're not positioning yourself as, selling this, and tomorrow you're a different person, and the next day, you're a completely different person. So you need to be clear about what is my purpose? Why am I doing what I am doing? And the other thing is also clarity about who your target audience is. Again, you cannot be everything to everybody. So if, for example, you're an entrepreneur and you're targeting women, for example, for investments. So you need to think about which women are you actually targeting, and you build that brand around that target audience. So that even when somebody is looking at, can we invest in this business, or who is this person? Do I want to do business with them? They're very clear about what you're about. What do you talk about? The other thing is really confidence. I think 60% of how successful you become as a brand or in any situation, even if you walk into a room, either to pitch a business or to maybe interview for a job, 60% of that is actually your confidence. How you walk into that room is so important. And how are you convinced of who you really are? And that's why I said, to me, personal branding starts from inside. How confident are you about what you bring to the table, about what value you're bringing and what value you offer? So if for example, I'm a coach in personal branding. So am I convinced that I am the best person to be offering this? Absolutely, I am. So that when I stand in front of, people talk about personal branding, or I am coaching a client about personal branding, it's because I have walked the journey. I have managed iconic brands, and so I have used a system that I know works, because I have helped thousands of people to position themselves. I have helped several brands, iconic brands, to position themselves correctly. So be confident about what is it that you are actually bringing to the table. And so walk with, I call it humble confidence. Be humble, but at the same time, know that this is what I am about and this is what I bring. The other thing is courage. I think we talked about social media and the fact that you need to be visible. And that takes courage, because visibility also means that now you're out there, so many people are seeing you. And so some of the things that people will say about you are not going to be pleasant. And you may not be able to please everybody, but the most important thing is, are you pleasing your target audience? Are you connecting with your target audience? So courage is very important. Courage also means that you're willing to learn new things. So, the world is changing so fast. Nobody knows everything. Tomorrow there's a shift. There's a, chat GPT, there's AI. There's so much that all of us need to be humble enough to say, I actually need to learn this. I need to learn how to engage with this new technology. I need to learn how to engage with this new group of people. So it's so important that you have the courage, but also remain humble. The other thing is to be action-oriented. You will not build a personal brand or any meaningful anything for that matter if you just keep talking about it. And a lot of people talk about, I'm a personal brand, but you're doing nothing about it. So you need to take action in terms of defining yourself, in terms of actually sitting down and defining your vision, defining your values, defining like you would for if you manage your personal brand, like you're managing a corporate brand. That's what I would say about this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, it's quite
Awesome.
Awesome. You said a lot, and I know one thing that resonates so well with me is the issue of courage. In personal branding, you have to be courageous, and she did mention that when you get more visible, you get a lot of people shooting back at you, and at times you want to speak about some topics, you are so careful, you come with a little bit of some fear that, look, how will they take this? So however, personal branding is such that you need to be bold and courageous and go after that image you are seeking to build. And she did talk about the fact that you need to also, embrace new ideas, embrace new technology. And she spoke about ChatGPT. It will interest you to know that my last question to her was actually suggested by ChatGPT. So yeah, it's here to stay, and it's something I think we should all look at embracing. My next question is going to go to Kemi. Kemi, we're talking about personal branding. How do you, as a professional, build a brand presence, not just online but also offline? How do you build that brand? Can you tell us, if I'm interested in building a brand today, whether it's online, offline, but generally just building my brand, what are the things I should be doing to build my personal brand?
Thank you so much. I think some of the answers to that question has been discussed here, but I will just add one or two things. So I feel first things first, let's even remove the word personal brand. And I always say something, without, whether you're deliberate about your personal brand or maybe you don't have one yet, or you're just being as a human being, who are you? What are you? Are you a kind person? Are you mean? Are you evil? Are you, so what exactly are you? Are you fake? Are you, because at the end of the day, it's all well and good to paint a rosy picture online of somebody that isn't you, but just to sell whatever you're selling, it's all well and good. But guess what? People know you. You have friends, you have acquaintances, you have enemies, and you never know. It's such a small world, because you never know what you've done 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, that will come back to bite you, even with your beautifully orchestrated personal branding online. So I always tell people, yes, it's all well and good to look great outside, but you as a person, do you need work? We all need work. No one is perfect, but how do you treat your friends? How do you treat your clients, your colleagues, people around you? It starts from there, and if you can be truthful with yourself, you can be honest with yourself and say, you know what, I don't think I'm as kind as I can be. Let me work on it. It's all about acknowledging that first, and then working on that. Because I kid you not, if you decide to build something just to sell something or just for a purpose, people know you. Like I said before, it would always come back. People will say, oh, isn't that somebody that did that? I mean, typical example of how we reconnected, Ayokunle. Remember that I didn't even know we were chatted on WhatsApp before. Like I thought, like this was how many years ago? We met at Civic Center and I totally forgot. But see, imagine if I was a wicked person, or imagine if I was rude. I'm sure I'll be off the panel immediately. You get, so whatever you do, it has a ripple effect. It can be 10 years, it can be 20 years down the line, you never know. So that is my number one philosophy of building a personal brand. Before we design anything for you, before we define anything, ask yourself truthful questions. Are you the best you can be? Are you a good human being? It's just as simple as that. If you're not a good human being, be honest with yourself. You know what? Okay, this is what I'm going to work on to be a better human being. Like I said, nobody's perfect. So good. Once we have that figured out, to build a personal brand online and offline, like she said, it's similar to building a corporate brand. It's similar to building a corporate brand, but the only distinct difference is you are showing a part of yourself to the world, and then so you need to decide what you want people to see. Now, this is where I feel a lot of people get it wrong. So because person A is doing this, person A loves fashion, or person A is showing every tiny bit of a house or a family, that means I have to do that. No, do what you're comfortable with. That's why introverts too can build a personal brand. You don't have to be out there all the time. Do what works for you. So ask yourself the question, okay, so what do I like? Do I like food? Do I like dining? What value do I want to add? In fact, what's the purpose of me building a personal brand in the first place? Is it to get better jobs? Is it to sell something? Is it just to add value? I always feel there should be maybe there should be an end goal in mind, not an end goal per se, but just know that you have a reason to wake up every day to do what you're doing. Because I kid you not, if you don't have an end goal in mind, content creation is not it's not for the weak. So you need that underlying motivation. You need that underlying motivation. You know what? I want to help entrepreneurs to move from point A to point B. I want to show people my beautiful work. So there's always a reason for you to put yourself, to communicate a part of you out there, because you have an end goal in mind. So once you've established your end goal, okay, what do you want to share? The decision is in your hands. Okay, do you want to share a bit of your lifestyle? Do you just want to share educational content? Do you just want to you want people to see a side of you that no one has seen before? The ball is in your court. Do not be swayed by what others are doing. You don't have to copy what others are doing. You don't have to do what others are doing. You don't have to show your family. You don't have to dance on Instagram. You don't, you don't have to, you can, it's your call. It's, the power is in your hands. And I always tell people, it's okay to learn from trends, but you don't necessarily have to do it 100%. Add your own twist to it, add your own finesse to it, so that's number two. Number three, for offline especially, I would say be a good listener. It's always, we're always tempted to talk, to say something, every time. But sometimes there's power in actually listening to what is being said and what is not being said through body language and so many things. So especially for offline, when you're meeting people and you have an end goal in mind, like I mentioned, listen, because when it's time for you to talk, you're going to build on what they've already said, which makes them feel important. So you don't even have to sell your product, but because you are such a great listener, they would know that, oh, okay, oh, wow, you remember that. Oh, let me listen more, so being a good listener is extremely important when you're doing offline networking and or events, because you relate. In fact, you bring people closer without even realizing. And number four, dressing appropriately. So dressing appropriately is, how do I put it? I always say dressed up. I mean, we are familiar with this. Dress how you want to be addressed, So if you want to work in some way, whatever you're wearing, whatever you're putting on as a person, obviously context matters, that's your environment. And know that, okay, you're going to be comfortable in your skin and not be uncomfortable when you enter a particular context or a particular space. So dress appropriately, especially for offline networking. And be authentic. I think a lot of people have spoken about authenticity, and confidence. So for me, confidence is like second to the last straw. In whatever you're doing, you might not even know a lot, but the way you talk, the way you look, confidence, people see you and they want to just learn more, assurance and confidence in you. So and the final one is following up. So meeting people is all well and good, but if we're truthful with ourselves, when last did you follow up with the person you met or spoke with 3 months ago, 4 months ago? You understand? So one needs to be deliberate about making meaningful connections, not necessarily to sell. Connection is important. Connecting is important because you never know when you need that person, to move you closer to your goals. You get, even if you don't need the person at all, I'm sure both of you share some similar values or similar things. Build on that, and you would see you build a personal brand without even knowing, full of authenticity, confidence, and doors will just keep opening for you. So that's my own philosophy, which can work both online and offline. And one final thing before I go, online is such a digital footprint in such a way that whatever you do now, I always look at people when they use their real names to do a lot of things online, if you have an end goal in mind, if you're looking for jobs or if you're looking for contracts or whatnot, how you appear online, it really, really matters. Are you just dancing? Are you naked? You can't say you're naked all the time on social media, then you want to close millions of dollars of deals, so how you appear online also really matters. And the way you build offline, also put that online, because it's basically the same, just different channels. And that's it, basically. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Kemi. It's quite, I think it's comprehensive what you have said. And, you've covered a lot in terms of what individuals should be doing to build personal brand, and all of that. And, while you were explaining, something did come across my mind to say that before the advent of social media, we had people using newspapers, and, you had the likes of Ruben Abati, right? He had a column in some newspapers. You write and write and write and write, and over time, people considered him an authority in his field because he was writing consistently. And with time, when the president came on, I think it was President Jonathan, he took him as a media advisor. Same thing happened with regards to Femi Adesina. And that speaks to how you create that brand out there. And I think also doing Salami was always writing about the economy. Bismarck Rewane was always writing about finance. And it's funny because basically what it then means is if I write about something consistently, effectively, then that means that I'm telling the world out there that I'm an authority in this field. And now it's even much more easy that because we have LinkedIn, and the minute you start writing consistently about something, people see you as an authority. So basically, I think it was Ife that mentioned it, that look, start writing on LinkedIn, start talking on LinkedIn, start doing all that on LinkedIn, and then before you know it, people see you as an authority. And that takes me to the next question, that regardless of how much you want to create a personal brand, how can individuals effectively promote and market their personal brand without being passing across as being self-promotional? I'm going to be directing this question to Eze.
Hello, Ayokunle. Thank you very much for that again. I didn't get the last part again, please. Can you help me take
Okay,
that
so I
question
was saying
again?
that yes, as much as we want to talk about branding and all of that, how do you then ensure that a fine balance is maintained between doing branding, promoting yourself without looking as if you are excessively being self-promotional? Quickly.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for that again. So what I would say is, I think I'll also go with what Madam Esther has also said, so it's important to know, it's important to be clear about what you are, one of the reasons why you are on whatever if you're building a personal brand, either on LinkedIn or any other social media platform that you choose and works best for you, that you are clear about what you want to do. And then also again, so what I realized again is, and then this is also one of the things that you need to understand. She also mentioned that is because, so there are times when, and then most times it's not easy to tell, you put out a post, it is, you know that you're not, I put out a post sometime and somebody told maybe I was being proud. So, and then knowing how to, so sometimes it's important to maybe read the tone of what you want to put out and understand what that is. So that when if you're sharing the content that speaks about, you don't give so much information. There's a way you put out a post that shows that you're trying to show off. Maybe you're putting out figures, you're putting out a whole lot. You can just speak, run through your message so that people don't take offense. Because sometimes there's a very thin line between confidence and then, and then trying to, and confidence and overconfidence, and then trying to, raise yourself beyond. But sometimes some people, that's not what they're pushing, but that's what some people perceive it to be. So, but because of the kind of world you don't know who sees your content, you don't know for whatever reason. So it's important that you're clear about what you want to do online or achieve online. And then read the tone. I always like to look through the tone of whatever I put out. Every time I'm writing something, because when you're putting out something, it's not a situation of, these are my thoughts. So many people have put out posts and say this is their thoughts. They don't care, but years down the line, it has affected them. So it's important that whatever you want to put out there when you're building your brand, don't look at it as, okay, weigh from different angle. What would people, is this right? Is what I'm putting out now, does this reflect who I am? When they see this thing, when they see this post, does it also give them an impression of who I am, or what would they think when they see this post? So it's important to understand these things before. So that's why I say clarity it's important that you are clear of what your goals are online, and then understand that you might not intend to sell, to be, to come out as, being, that's the word I'm looking for. That it's not like you're trying to oppress people about your success or what you've achieved. So it's important that you read, know what because it's not just yourself that you're posting to so many people. So when they come across this post, so some recruiters might look at this post and say, oh, this person is too focused on themselves, or this person looks like somebody who is proud or cocky. So it's important that when you're putting out anything, even though it is honestly just who you are, it's also important to not take away the essence of whatever the story you're putting out, but also reconsider that, oh, would it be communicating the right message out there? Will people focus more on me being proud than the message that I'm sending? So it's important that you understand, you are clear on what you're, because once you put it out there, whatever content you put out there, whatever image you're putting out there about yourself, once you put it out there, you no longer control the narrative. People now control the narrative for you. So it is important that you run through whatever you share, think over it twice, or share with somebody, what do they think, what's their opinion about it, and then you now put online. I have put out a content one time that was misconstrued, and then I now had to do a follow-up. So it's important that, to save yourself, the back and forth, be sure that whatever you are about to put out or post reflects who you are, the values that you believe in, and if any decision is going to be made about that post, would it be favorable? Would people look at that post and say, are you trying to inform people? Are you trying to incite? So it's important that you look at these things. And I'll tell you again, do not just post or share things because you want to share. We live in a world right now where, what you said 10 years ago, you might have forgotten. And some days that you're just really, you're just excited, you just put out certain things. You might not be somebody you might not be a bigot, you might not hate people, but maybe you shared a post unknowingly or out of excitement. The internet does not forget. Please, there are tools right now that can spool from your handle on Twitter, on IG, that can spool the comments that you've made. And if I'm to make an informed decision about what you put online, would what you've posted online, would your digital footprint improve or better who you are today, or would it, pass a negative opinion about who you are? So it's important that we understand this. And, sometimes I've shared posts, I do not intend to show myself, to look as if I'm showing up. But most times, so it's important that you also do not just think about just your own feeling when it comes to content that you put out, either building your brand, either a personal brand or business brand. Always think of how does it affect the next person. Similar to the content about bread and our Lord Jesus Christ rising. I'm sure that because Sterling Bank has been known in terms of creatives, they are the number one bank when it comes to, digitally savvy creatives that youth, Gen Z, and a good number of you can connect to. But, I think they were overreaching when it came to that one. So it's always important to run by multiple people if you can, because it might look really nice creatively inside, but when it gets out, I'm sure that the creative team, it made sense to them. Agege bread, they found a connection somewhere, but they did not think about, they used their own opinion, their own, so they always say, when you communication has not taken place yet if you do not get feedback. So whatever you're communicating, make sure that it is the right feedback that it would elicit or generate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You said a lot. Yeah, you're not communicated until you get feedback. Excellent. My question is going to we'll be rounding off this very soon, but I'm going to ask because we've spoken a lot about personal branding. At the end of the day, we want to. I'd like to do a link and a connection between personal branding and the end game, which we will expect to better us because personal branding does not just exist for the sake of existing. So I'm going to ask Madam Esther, how can you leverage personal brand to achieve career goals or grow your business? How do we've been speaking about personal brand for some time. So basically, how do you then ensure you are able to use your personal brand to push your career goals, your business goals, and then at the end of the day, make some money off it? Esther, please.
Right. Okay, thank you very much for that question. And like we've been saying earlier about what a personal brand is and the way it actually connects you with everything else. You're not an island, so you've got to think about what is the end game for what you're trying to do. So are you building your personal brand for employment? Are you building your personal brand so that you can position yourself as the person to be picked by an employer? And I'll give you an example. You know, you throughout your life, you'll have different cycles, and your brand might change. Not your brand, but your target audience might change from a personal branding perspective in this way. So, for example, at some point when I was looking at going for a CEO job, obviously my target audience then were the people who make decisions as to who is going to be the CEO, which then meant that my target audience were board of directors. And so you have to be very intentional about who are you creating the brand for. And so I've had to ask myself, who are these board members? And like Kemi said a little bit earlier, you cannot build a personal brand without building connections. You have to be able to build relationships. And I call them value-based relationships because it's about not just taking, but also giving. You cannot be the only one who is being taken care of. You also have to give and take. So build relationships that are geared towards your end result. And sometimes some of these relationships that you build, they transverse so many areas. They can be the employers, they can be the investors, or they can be the people who decide which board you serve in. So at the end of the day, I think one has to start with the end in mind. You know, there's the 7 habits of highly effective people actually are very relevant when it comes to personal branding efforts. So start with the end in mind, and then be very clear about who then needs to be on this on your communication platform. Whom do you need to be communicating to show that you're capable of doing this or doing that? So you're not just building your brand blindly, so to speak. So whether it's for a business or it's for to be employed, or you need to show people that you're the subject matter in a certain field, you need to be very intentional about it. And again, how do you know that you're actually being effective? We talked about effectiveness. Effectiveness is blind unless you can actually get feedback about it. So the way you know that you're being effective is with the kind of feedback that you're getting. Either if you're, for example, creating your brand, your personal brand for the sake of certain positions in employment, you will be headhunted. If you're actually doing it properly, headhunters will come for you because it shows that you're doing certain things correctly and you are showcasing what you're doing. In other words, you're posting your stars, and that's how you're translating your personal branding efforts into fruitfulness. That is the fruit of a good personal brand that is seeking a certain position. The other way that you get, you know that you're actually building this and getting back your effort is if, for example, you're in business, what kind of referrals are you getting? Because it means that you're connecting with your target audience in a certain way. And so they are actually evangelizing, because ultimately where we want to get to, even with our personal brands, is where people start evangelizing you, where people start talking about you when you're not in the room and they're saying great things about you. Because really that's what a brand is. It's what people say when you're not in the room. So you have to be intentional about who you want to be talking about when you're not in the room and what you actually want them to be saying when you're not in the room, because that translates into either more business or it translates into you being a very valuable member of the organization where you're working, or it translates into you being offered better positions in whatever it is that you're desiring. But start with the end in mind. As somebody said, it's not just about dancing, unless of course you're aspiring to join a dancing troupe. It's about the essence of who you are coming out, and that translating into people seeing that you're the kind of person that I want to be associated with. You're the kind of person that I want to deal with. Because brand in brand management, you talk about brand association. What does this brand say about me? If I'm associating with you, what does it say about me? It's the same way if you're driving a Mercedes, it says something about you. So if I'm associating with you, it says something about me, okay? So it's very important that your efforts are translating into fruitfulness. Otherwise, it's wasted effort, and it takes a lot of effort to do all these things and to build these relationships. So you might as well be intentional about it, but also measure through just being aware of what kind of feedback you're actually getting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And in fact, it was as if you had read my mind on the next question I was about to ask, which was how to measure, the effectiveness of your personal branding efforts. So we've heard from her, if you do it properly, you'll be getting people reach out to you, you'll be getting feedback, you'll be getting headhunters, coming after you for the service or the messaging you have passed across as your personal brand. Excellent. I will be taking 2 quick questions because we are running out of time, and so I'll be a little bit brief. My next question is going to go to Ife. I don't know if Ife is still there, but my next question is going to go to you, and I'm just going to ask quickly, in 1 minute, how can individuals establish themselves as thought leaders and experts in their field as part of their personal branding strategy? Ife, can you please help us? You already started earlier in the session. You mentioned how people can use LinkedIn and some other online platforms to build their strategy. But generally, how can individuals establish themselves as thought leaders and experts in their field as part of their personal branding strategy?
So, fantastic question. I think in one way or the other, we have all mentioned different ways, but I'll just hone on maybe like 2 or 3. I think one of the most effective things you can do is provide value. Why are you talking? Why are you personal branding yourself if you are not going to provide value? So a lot of people can talk, and we do have that chatter a lot. We have it across all the platforms, but how many people are going away with stuff they've learned from that conversation? So please, by all means, that's one thing for you to consider. What value am I trying to impact or trying to share? What can people take away from this? What would it help? Again, that's why you have a lot of Monday motivation, because people want to be encouraged, people want to move on to new things, people want to, oh, this person is aligned with, we're going through the same thing. Whatever it is, value is the key, and it will be good for you to be providing value, to be able to position yourself as a thought leader. Yeah. The other bit of it is collaborating. So this panel session, fantastic avenue. Kaizen Academy, I think it tagged all of us. I saw my notification. I saw I was tagged on LinkedIn. And what I could have done with that was share it and say, oh, Kaizen has invited me for a panel session, join this and that. So ensure you collaborate. All of us here in our own individual capacities are managing brands or managing several businesses. So collaborate as much as possible. I think when it comes to banking, we feel like collaboration is not possible because all of us are fighting for the same type of customers. But you can collaborate in your own small way. You can collaborate with a fintech. You can collaborate with another business that offers you services. Or if you are within the same space, if you are a business owner and you're within the same space of other people, collaborate. It will be good for you. It shows that you care, and it shows that you can partner successfully with other businesses outside of your own. I think I mentioned it in my comments. Another thing will be authentic. To thy own self be true. Talk about what you know, talk about what you understand, talk about, again, your personal experience. We tend to generalize a lot. Women do it for men do it for women, and they do it for, again, everybody. So be as much as possible as authentic as you can be. Speak to your own experiences. And if you are going to speak to another person's experience, then be sure you have all the details so that you are sharing it like it was told to you. Because I say, oh, I have a friend who this, and then you generalize. Be authentic and be true to yourself. Focus on storytelling. So storytelling is getting big as it relates to content marketing and content creation. And people empathize or literally gravitate towards people that are telling a story. It feels like they can immediately align with what the person is saying. So if you can focus on storytelling, if you're a good creator of stories, then use it to your benefit, because it's a good way for you to help position yourself. It's a good way for you to also provide value. And then, of course, it showcases that you are being authentic to yourself. I think finally, always engage. So like I had mentioned earlier, I try to join conversations that my interests have highlighted from LinkedIn. So you'll see me commenting on someone, and then if the person who posted that message is also looking to position themselves, they will respond to me. I had an interaction with someone that was in HR when she just typically said, oh, CEOs, make sure all your money doesn't go into branding. And of course, branding is my forte. So I had to respond to her. I was like, oh, but we don't control all the budget for a business now. Sometimes all the other people have to defend their budget for them to get what they are entitled to. And of course, she responded back and said, oh, but what I'm saying is, oh, don't use ambassadors, or don't forget about growing your business or growing your personnel when you are thinking of ambassadors. So you can see that there's a conversation there. If people are looking out for me, they'll look at other conversations that I've engaged in. They look at the kind of feedback I've given or comments that I've passed. And I believe that with this, just putting everything together, it will help you build a good, make you a good thought leader in your chosen field.
Excellent. You said it. You've said it all. In fact, there was something that I also had in mind in terms of, you spoke about collaboration, and it's very important to, like you've said, it's very important to collaborate, go for programs where you speak like this. And when you speak like this, without knowing, you literally are creating an authority branding for yourself in that field. And collaboration is very important. You also spoke about how it is to ensure deliberately go after thought leaders in your field on LinkedIn, because everybody is now on LinkedIn. They make a post, you comment, other people who are following them or other thought leaders who are like them will see your comments, and then you don't know the next comment you might make, and then somebody's like, I like the thought process for this person, let me engage this person. And you'll be surprised what that does is that it breaks protocol. It breaks a lot of protocol for you. People you would normally struggle to meet through their office, but you just see them online, and then you start the conversation. And so excellent comment like that. Before I take one or two comments, final comments from the speakers, I would like to finally ask Emmanuel. Emmanuel, how important is having a personal website for professionals and for personal branding?
Okay, hello. Thank you very much again. I'd like to just even say that, I personally have, taken notes from Efe, from most of the speakers today, because we learn regularly. So what I'll just say is it's important so we now live in a world where, when a digital world, your CV alone is not enough. Just having a CV alone is no longer enough. People want to see your track record, have something that they can refer to. If you say I remember I've been to, interviews over the years, and then they ask me, you say you've written press releases before, you've done this, show us, or you've written something around branding before. I could refer them to my LinkedIn profile. And then I know I was also a contributor to a brand. There's a particular brand magazine I used to contribute to their website. So I could easily spool these references. And then they made a decision, and that got me my job. So we live in a time right now where, don't just work on crafting the best CV. Also work on, you don't need to own a maybe paid website. You can, build LinkedIn, share your work experiences, conferences that you attend, how your impact or whatever idea you brought into your organization transformed the business. Over time, it becomes like a track record for you to go back to or fall on. So you can build blog spots, or it could even be your social media page. Not everybody, for some people, if you go to their page, you will not find anything about maybe how they're having fun. You will only find them work, conferences, and then you can still reference that in the future. So it's important that, the world has moved beyond CVs. I have gotten interviews without even sending my CV, by somebody just going through my LinkedIn page and looking how far back I've been writing, or they ask me for my Instagram handle. So we live in a time right now that you cannot afford. If you don't have a website, make sure your social media presence speaks to who you are as a person, what you represent, and what you believe in, your work, your expertise, so that when they come, I have never gone for a job interview that my page did not reinforce what I do. So I rarely even speak so much about what I do these days. Now I just say, okay, you can check out my LinkedIn page, and then you find a number of resources or things that I've shared within, like she rightly said, providing value. For me, it felt like I was just enjoying myself, doing what I love. But I did not realize that over time it has become, value over it. I have built value over the years now. And to me, it was just doing my own thing. But when it comes to headhunters, they now look at my profile and say, oh, you've been doing this for 5 years, 7 years. So it's important that you are intentional about what you do. I do not just post things on LinkedIn, post on social media. I post them with intent. Every time they see this content, they should know that as it comes to mind, branding this, I met somebody recently, randomly. I had not seen this person since we left university over 10 years, 10, 11 years ago. And he said to me, Mr. Brand, come and brand me. You know, and we've never spoken about branding. But because opinions are formed, you know, perceptions are built with our actions and inactions online, it is important that you know that whatever you post, whatever you do, shapes. So this age and time, your CV alone is not enough. Create a presence online. So that's what I would say. So having a good presence online is key in this age and time for professionals.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. We have run fully out of time, and so I'm just going to ask Kemi for one time in 30 seconds. Kemi, your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I mean, I think everything has been said, but okay, branding is such a beautiful, beautiful thing, you know, and like a lot of everybody, Ife, Esther, Aze, even you, Ayo, you said that it's about being authentic, both in the company branding and personal brand. Just be you, be uniquely you. You know, for companies, always think of disruption, and disruption can come from anywhere. It can be the business model, it can be the product, it can be the branding, it can be anything. So always think of, okay, how can I be different in these things I'm doing? Everybody's going A, B, C, D. How can I go 1, 2, 3? You know, that is how I think every day before I put pen to paper, or before I finish with before I start doing a client's job. You know, so take branding seriously. Internal, external, we've all said, I mean, everybody has said, basically put the icing on the cake. So I wish everybody the best, and we're here for any question. It was such a honor being amongst professionals like Efe, Aze, Esther, and you, Aya.
Thank you so much, Kemi. Thank you absolutely so much. It's been an exceptional conversation, very interesting discussion, and I'm sure that we would have picked one or two things. We, you know, to round off, we've listened and we've learned how you can leverage on your personal brand to get more opportunities. We've learned how we can use different platforms to reinforce our brand and what we stand for, and by doing so, we create the aura of an authority in whatever field we are doing. And we should be very deliberate about what we are doing online, such that whatever it is we are putting out there should be something that we want to put out there, and people should be able to speak about us when we are not in the room. That is the whole purpose of personal branding. And if we are doing it regularly, and if we are doing it consistently and effectively, we should get people coming to us to engage us for the personal brand for which we have put ourselves out there. So it's been a very informative and educating session for us. And as we go out, let us be deliberate, develop a strategy, use different platforms online, offline, to develop our personal brand. And at the end of the day, it can help us you know, develop our personal brands and our corporate brands. So I want to thank our panelists who have done a really great job dissecting this topic and kickstarting, you know, such a major conversation. I also must commend the management team of Kaizen Academy, led by Lillian, for putting this together. For some of us who don't know, Kaizen Academy Nigeria Limited is a top-notch consulting firm providing top-notch strategy, governance, consulting, and training services. And they have the office in Lagos and Abuja, Nigeria. Kaizen Academy also offers board evaluation services and consulting services. I encourage you to look up Kaizen Academy through the website and social media pages at Kaizen Academy NG. I want to thank our distinguished panelists who have taken their time out to join us and discuss this very engaging topic. I would also like to mention our apologies for Ms. Theodora Kiolosin, who was unable to make it for some logistic reasons. I want to thank members of the press and also everyone that has joined this, participated in this conversation. Thank you very much. And we hope to see you at the next webinar for Kaizen Academy, scheduled for Thursday, May 11, 2023, with the topic Tips for Career Advancement. Until then, we want to say thank you, have a nice Easter weekend, and goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, again.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you very much. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you, Ayo. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Michael. Bye, Wanate. Have a lovely afternoon.